Before we start this BlastCast, I want to say congratulations to Capcom right now. You guys are really knocking it out of the park. I'm not even joking. Resident Evil 2 is amazing. Monster Hunter World is amazing. You guys have been just goddamn doing amazing recently, and it's so great to see a company that actually gives a crap about the content it makes. It's really nice. And I have played so much Resident Evil 2 right now. I have so much footage that I need to, you know, edit and put out there, but I just haven't had time recently, what with the job and all. But God, I just want to say it's such a good game, and I really, really freaking enjoy it. I'm so in love with Resident Evil 2. It's amazing. On a lighter note, I talk a little bit in this episode about how EA said that single-player games couldn't make money and weren't something gamers wanted anymore, and hilariously enough, they just got done announcing a single-player game with no microtransactions. Huh, funny. Almost like the public backlash over their shitty business practices actually had an effect on the type of content they make. It's been great recently. I'm really happy about recent video game news. It's like taking a complete 180. Anyway, on with the episode. The numbers are in, and Resident Evil 2 is a resounding success. Not only are critics singing its praises, but players are joyously doing the same. It's very easy to see why. Not only is it a welcome return to survival horror, but it's also incredibly responsive, polished, and brimming with love for its fans. The zombies are more terrifying, the atmosphere is more phenomenal, and Mr. X is the biggest asshole I've ever met. In a good way. It's damn near a perfect game in every sense. Seriously, like it's 5 swipes against a zombie, against flesh, and it just breaks. It doesn't make sense. But that's just one small gripe in an otherwise flawless video game. It's incredibly hard to look at the Resident Evil 2 remake and not see something promising. That promising something I'm referring to is a model for how video games should be. A much-needed speck of dirt in the eye of every executive who told us around the year 2000 that single-player games are not profitable, or that horror games can't be popular, or that a combination of the two will always lead to financial failure. It's not even so much that Resident Evil 2 does this better. God of War was fantastic, and Hellblade to this day is one of my favorite games. Resident Evil 2 and every successful single-player game is a shining beacon on the hilltop that the industry is just plain wrong. That the industry that makes its money selling games doesn't actually understand how to make and sell video games. An industry that wants you to hate how games ought to be. An industry that wants to make less titles with more live services. An industry that's only goal is to get more and more and more and more money. An industry that has historically never understood the consumers it was tasked with making content for. And I could not be more happy about it. A real game. A real horror game. One that cares more about my experience as a player and less on how much money I can spend. And that's why Resident Evil 2 is so goddamn important. It's why every video game that focuses on gameplay and not on making money is so damn important. Because it shows these types of games are not only successful, but that they are far more rewarding an experience than those lame live service games. And that you can be successful without pissing off your consumers, which according to the AAA market is impossible if you want to make a buck. Modern day gaming is unchecked capitalism of the most destructive variety. It's frankly insane that this industry went from making millions to billions, and that its own extreme growth has now led to the shoddy, layoff-ridden, patch culture, gambling-pushing marketplace that we call the AAA industry. Because that's all modern gaming is. A black hole by which the ravenous shareholders gobble boatloads of cash, only to come back next year and demand more. Always more, 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 with no thought to consumers or their ability to pay. Whales can't keep funding this rickety, unbalanced system that has rocketed profits but restricted products. And as of 2019, 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. The system is unstable, my friends. And that's why the industry needs those microtransactions, and DLC, and food promotions, and multiple special editions, and inane in-game currency sales, and gambling, and weird-ass Amazon Alexa voice assist tie-ins, now for the low, low price of $100, you stupid rubes. Resident Evil 2 is quite clearly devoid of those unsavory business practices that make other titles downright toxic. It's not focused on monetization, it's focused on delivering a fun experience to people who are fans of the genre. It runs wonderfully. It had no day one patch because it was finished when it was launched, something increasingly rare in modern gaming. It wasn't overhyped, it was marketed correctly. It's not a live service piece of trash. Not a single microtransaction in sight. And the cherry on top is the demo. They aren't frightened at all to release. Because they knew their game was good. Because they knew they put work in and gold came out. It's an affront to everything the industry has told us was the new norm. Oh, well, we need microtransaction because games are expensive. Oh, well, we can't make single-player titles because no one wants them. Horror games aren't profitable now. This needs to have online functionality to be appealing to people. Nothing the supposed experts of the industry have said in the past decade has ever been true. And it's certainly not the live service crap winning all the awards and praise from the community. And I know I'm shitting on live service games a lot here in this video, but you have to admit 80% of them aren't worth playing. It must really rankle the feathers of the likes of EA and Ubisoft that the business they worked so hard to craft turned out to be nothing more than a controversy machine, while companies that make actual quality content while not playing into the expectations of the industry get all the glory. Because while Anthem has to struggle to keep people playing, Resident Evil 2 is outright and upfront an experience worth my time, effort, and money. And arguably possessing far more personality than your run-of-the-mill open-world, vapid, shallow, modern game that has nothing to offer me but more useless crap to buy. I am so glad these kinds of games are making a comeback. While EA and Activision are busy losing money and laying off employees to make ends meet, publishers like Capcom, Sony Computer Entertainment, and Nintendo are getting shit done, and showing the greedy Falstaffian pricks on high how actual business is done. Which is honestly kind of hilarious when you think about it, because not so long ago, Capcom was on the receiving end of quite a bit of hatred after the release of Resident Evil 6. And you know what Capcom didn't do? They didn't try to defend their shitty business practices. They admitted they were wrong, and they went back and they fixed the problems, realizing that their greatest asset wasn't the profitability of the game, but the people who played them. They came out and said we'd prefer a game that got a 9 and sold less than a 6 but sold more. And as it turns out, when you focus on your audience and not your pocketbook, you tend to not only look better as a company, but profit more because you sold a product that consumers actually liked. I can't count on one hand how many games from Ubisoft and EA I've avoided because I hate both those companies. And I can guarantee you Resident Evil 2 will sell better than Resident Evil 6, amassing 4 million copies worldwide within 1 month. Just 3 million shy of where Resident Evil 6 stands now. And already selling more Steam copies than Resident Evil 7. The days of live service and microtransactions are numbered. There is a triumphant return to actual games and actual variety, and studios that actually care, so EA can keep pushing live services and killing studios. I'm looking at you, BioWare! Ubisoft can continue to disappoint with continually selling the same open world title, Far Cry. Hell, Activision can keep over monetizing its titles, because sooner or later, it's going to come crashing down.